What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon. It's great to be with you today. It's Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. We are surviving quarantine life, still going strong. The church has decided, if you didn't see the email this morning, that we're going to continue to stay out of the sanctuary. Man, I'm outside, but it's a little bit blustery. Might have to run inside if it starts raining. We're going to stay out of the sanctuary through Memorial Day. So we got a little bit more of this, more daily devotions coming to you, more online worship like we've been doing, which has been a lot of fun to do and to share. So we're going to keep on. Before I dive into my main meditation, I've got to share this, and I was telling Lexi this morning, I've got this little thing I want to tell you about. So last night, everyone was in bed, except I stayed up a little bit later to play a video game, which I don't do very much anymore. I don't have the time for it, really. But last night, I fired it up and turned on the machine and was playing a video game. It's a Star Wars video game called Jedi Fallen Order. And the funniest, for those who don't know, during video games now, they have things that are called cutscenes. So you're playing a video game that's like a story. It has a story that goes throughout the game. And every once in a while, you stop playing, you can put the controller down, and there's like a little movie clip that kind of moves the story along. And at this point in the game, my Jedi character, warrior, has just experienced this catastrophic failure. And he feels like a total failure. I failed, I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. It's this big crisis moment in the story for him. And in this cutscene, my Yoda type character appears as a ghost type Jedi thing and tells me, kind of encourages the character and all this stuff. And he says, no, failure is not the end. It's a necessary part of the struggle on the path. Hope always remains for those who choose to fight. And then a little bit later on in the cutscene, I'm back on the ship with this other mentor character, and she says, failure is part of the journey. And I was laughing out loud at this. Failure is part of, I was laughing out loud because I've said these words before. Mentors that I know, wise theologians and scholars that I read and admire say this kind of thing, and we kind of waggle these words around the church like they're these profound, this profound wisdom that never occurred to anybody before. Sometimes this deep truth, that is groundbreaking and revolutionary. Failure is part of the journey, and it's true that it is, but apparently even the writers of Jedi Fallen Order cutscene material know this deep, profound truth. So they're either highly enlightened like the rest of us, or this is just simple stuff that everybody knows is part of life, part of the journey, that failure is part of the journey. I just had to laugh because I'd never expected to hear that, I guess. Anyway, that's a side intro story, and here we are. We're already 4 minutes into this thing. Let's get to the business of the meditation for today. I'm going to read to you a bit of Exodus, and write this down if you want to read it later. This is Exodus chapter 16. I'm going to start at verse 9 and read through verse 30. It's kind of long, but I think it's very entertaining. It's a very entertaining part of the story, and it's very apropos to what we are experiencing today, what we're going through today. So the Israelites have left Egypt. They've made their escape. Moses is leading them out with Aaron. They've been chased by the Egyptians. The Red Sea happened, and now they're camped out in the wilderness. Okay, this is where we are in this story. So this is Exodus 16. I'm going to read this and then just make a couple of observations and leave it with you. Exodus 16, starting at verse 9. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, 'Come near before the Lord, for he has heard your complaining.'" And as soon as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord said to Moses, "I've heard the complaining of the people of Israel. Say to them, 'At twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God.'" In the evening quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning dew lay around the camp. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as frost on the ground. Time out. I don't love this translation. This is the ESV. So if you got a different one, you might want to read that. Nothing against the ESV. When the people of Israel saw it, verse 15, they said to one another, "Manna," which means, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It's the bread that the Lord's given you to eat. This is what the Lord's commanded. Gather of it, each one of you, as much as you can eat. You shall each take an omer," which is about 2 quarts. You shall each take an omer according to the number of persons that each of you has in your tent. And the people of Israel did so. They gathered, some gathered more, some less, but when they measured it with an omer, about 2 quarts, whoever gathered a lot had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as they could eat. And Moses said to them, "Let no one leave any of it or keep any of it until morning." But they didn't listen to Moses. Some left part of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. Morning by morning they gathered it, each as much as they needed. But when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers each, so about 4 quarts each. And when all the leaders of the congregation came and told Moses, he said to them, "This is what the Lord's commanded. Tomorrow is a day of solemn rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you need to bake and boil what you'll boil, and all that's left over, lay it aside to be kept till the morning." So they laid it aside till morning, as Moses commanded them, and it did not stink, and there were no worms in it. Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is a Sabbath, there will be none." On the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather, but they found none. And the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? Look, the Lord's given you the Sabbath. Therefore, on the 6th day, he gives you bread for 2 days. Remain, each of you, in place. Let no one go out of their place." Parallels or some connections to what we're experiencing. I do. A story about God's provision, but also the reaction of the Israelites to what's happening, and I just think it's great. So a couple of observations that occurred to me as I spent time in this text. First of all, the human instinct to hoard out of fear for not having enough or whatever seems to be timeless and has gone on for a long time. They're told to gather just as much as they need and no more, and they do pretty good. They start out gathering just enough, not any more than they need, and they're doing great. Don't keep it overnight though, because the God's going to provide that. Don't keep it overnight. And what do? They try to keep it overnight because they're worried that what if there's not enough toilet paper? What if there's not enough manna and enough quail the next day? So they keep it overnight, and Moses is like, no, that makes him angry. Don't do that. And then it gets to the Sabbath, where they're told the day before the Sabbath to collect twice as much as they need, and that'll be enough for the Sabbath day. They wake up on the Sabbath, and that hasn't gone bad now. It's not gone bad. There's no worms in it. So what do? They try to collect. They go out to the Sabbath to collect more, to hoard up more of it, and of course that doesn't work out. So the first observation I have is that it's a very human response. Even when we know God's providing and God's with us, it's a very human response for us to try to gather and hoard up because we're worried about ourselves and about what's coming when we don't know. The second observation, in verse 29, when God says, look, don't you know that the Sabbath is a gift? It's a gift that's been given to you. The second observation I have is that the people of God needed to be reminded that the Sabbath was a gift. The seventh day was a gift. This one day a week, out of the week, that was not supposed to look anything like the other days of the week. This one day a week that was supposed to be different than their normal routine, where they had to stay home. Please don't leave. The verse says, everyone stay in your home. Do not leave your home on this day. Don't go out. Don't work, but rest. Just rest. And remember, they're not in their homes. They're in the desert. They're in the wilderness. So it's not like they've got all the comforts of home here. This is a new place. They're camped out. They're in their tents in the wilderness. They needed to be reminded. Now, I'm not saying that right now our situation is one big, long Sabbath, and that's the point of this story. That's not what I'm saying, but I do wonder, I just wonder about it. Everything is a gift. We say that. Everything is a gift. Everything belongs. All things come from God's good hand. So how is this time a gift? How is it a gift? Are we trying to control it? Are we trying to be in control? Or are we able to let go? Even enjoy our current situation, trusting that God is with us. What is God doing right now? What is God up to right now? I guess my invitation for today, this meditation, is like Joyce has been saying, just let yourself wonder about this. Let yourself wander through this text. I do invite you to read it today on your own. Exodus 16, 9 through 30. Wander into it. Wonder in it. What is the Lord saying to us? What is the Spirit saying to you through this story? That's it. Grace and peace, folks. Love you. See you soon.